The Honda Civic is something of a household name, and it's been with us for 50 years now, which just goes to show how popular it has been to maintain a presence here in the UK in market conditions that have swirled around and been ever changing. And now there's a new one, and with it comes a whole lot of expectation given just how successful this range of vehicles has been. And here we have it, the new 11th generation Civic. Now, as you can see, quite a bit has changed, but there's far more going on here than just skin-deep alterations. We've got a brand new powertrain and a radically different interior, as well as a load of different changes. We've been given a sneak peek at this latest generation Civic, so let's dive in and find out just what's changed. As you can see from the exterior of the latest generation Civic, things have taken a slightly more evolutionary approach, certainly in terms of the front end, which is quite close in design to that of its predecessor. However, this new car has a 35mm longer wheelbase than the car it replaces, and has a slightly wider track too. In doing so, it's made the car look slightly longer, and also the styling itself lengthens the car as well. You might notice that the windscreen is a little bit larger too, and that allows more light to enter the cabin. Notice as well that the wing mirrors have been moved in position from being at the side of the windows to further down the door. This not only lets more light into the cabin, but gives you a clearer view through that pillar section, which is really handy for when you're approaching roundabouts or exiting junctions. As you can see, quite a lot has changed with this new generation Civic. In the middle of the car we've got a 9-inch infotainment screen, and then we've got a 10.2-inch driver display ahead of the driver, relaying all your key information. Now in the middle here you get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard, and actually this screen is standard across the models of Civic, showing that they are actually trying to take a slightly more value orientated approach to this new model. There's also wireless charging on this vehicle, and down here you can see we've cleaned up the drivetrain area by just having buttons for drive, neutral, reverse and park. Overall, it feels significantly different to the old one. Actually, one of the biggest changes is this large honeycomb detail strip, which adds a little bit extra width to the cabin and makes it feel slightly airier and slightly broader. It feels bigger and slightly more grown up than the old car. The wheelbase of this new generation Civic has actually increased over the previous generation car. Now what that usually leads is extra legroom and extra space. Certainly in terms of legroom, that's definitely the case here. You've got plenty of legroom, plenty of knee room, and that seat is in my position and I'm just in the 6th foot. However, we have taken a little bit of a hit in terms of headroom. My head is just scraping the roof there, and that's more apparent in cars fitted with an optional panoramic sunroof, which does eat into that space. However, it is a nice wide open cabin, and certainly even if you're sitting in the middle, despite the relatively large transmission hub, you're not going to be struggling for shoulder room. We've also got 2 USB charging ports and some useful storage bits on the backs of the seats and down the side. It feels like a step up against the previous car, and certainly in terms of overall space and legroom, it is better. Open the large hatchback and you do have a decent amount of space there. Now, Honda won't give us the official figures, but they've said that it's around 400 litres, and that is a noticeable deficit on the 478 litres that you get from the previous generation car. You've also got this retractable parcel shelf, which extends out there and retracts back into its section here, and that means that you can load larger items without having to take the parcel shelf out and remove it. Overall, this is a nicely accessible area. The load lip isn't too high and the section itself isn't too deep, so you're not going to have too much difficulty loading in larger items when you need to. The new generation Civic will only be available with Honda's latest hybrid powertrain. There's no conventional petrol option on offer. This version uses a 2-litre Atkinson cycle petrol engine, which is then linked to 2 electric motors. Now interestingly, in EV mode it can run, as you might expect, on electric only power for a short distance and at lower speeds. However, in hybrid mode it's actually able to use that petrol engine more as a generator, and it feeds power to those electric motors, which then powers the wheels. That gives more of an impression of an EV style driving. Then when you do require more performance, the engine can be called upon, and a clever system manages to then transfer the power directly from the engine to the front wheels, bypassing the electric motors. By doing so, Honda is able to tailor the powertrain's performance depending on the situation and therefore offer better efficiency. Now at the moment, crucial figures haven't been confirmed, but Honda is targeting 110 grams of CO2 per kilometre in terms of emissions, and it is also expecting to see well over 50 mpg on the combined cycle. As I always say when we look at cars static, the proof really is in the driving, but certainly the small changes that we've seen today point towards a more refined and more grown-up Civic than ever before. Certainly the fact that it's got a really efficient hybrid powertrain will make it very appealing to a lot of people. And those gains that will come through fuel economy and emissions will make this car cheaper to run than the one that came before it too. Add into that this really high-end interior and a little bit more legroom, and there's no reason why this latest generation Civic can't be the most popular yet.